back. Time for this week's Capitol Report with Pat McGuigan of CapitolBeatOK.com. Pat, Governor Mary Fallin gave her State of the State address this week, laid out her plans for the coming session. So let's pick some of the topics and have you dissect those. First, the governor proposed a $50 million increase in funding for K-12 education. Your thoughts on that?
You know, despite the fact that performance is kind of moribund in the public education system, support for it remains very high because, you know, it remains high. People want our education system to work. And there's at least some that believe that pouring yet more money into the system will help improve performance. So there's broad support for this among Democrats and Republicans. And in fact, many say it's not only not enough, it's far short of enough. That every year they want hundreds of millions of dollars more spent on public education. The governor did not press, however, for additional school choice, and in a way that's too bad because one of the things you can do to leaven the blow, if you will, of increased spending and burden on taxpayers is to give more options and more choice, which I've always supported. And there is an excellent education savings account patterned on the program in Arizona being proposed by Jason Nelson. So we'll see. Frankly, I expect the $50 million to probably get through.
All right. You've spoken a lot about pension reform. Give me your thoughts on her comments on pension reform and state pay.
You know, I believe further pension reforms are needed. The state is still likely decades, at least years, but probably decades away from achieving fiscal security for our government pension funds. Now, Auditor Gary Jones, a good conservative, disagrees with the governor's approach, but I think the governor's approach has merit, particularly in shifting from defined benefit programs to defined contribution programs and then making those portable. And by portable, I mean they'd be like 401ks. They follow an employee, and that would enable the state to attract new workers at the front of their career, in the middle of their career, for a time, knowing that they wouldn't have to give up what they accumulate in retirement benefits when they go back to the private sector. And it's proven that these are more fiscally accountable, responsible, and sustainable, so that there is a retirement benefit at the end of a person's tenure.
Capital repairs. It's been a hot topic.
Yeah.
She called on lawmakers to pass a bond issue to pay for the immediate repair of the crumbling Capitol. What do you think about that?
Yeah, she was kind of passionate on that. In fact, a little bit graphic even.
Yes.
At times, describing what goes on in the basement. I'm there most days, and that's a rare problem, but a problem that does happen occasionally, what she described, and I'll just leave to the viewers to go back and check it out. In any case, there is probably a narrow majority in favor of a bond to finance capital repairs through a bonding mechanism that is additional state debt rather than through general appropriation. However, outgoing Speaker T.W. Shannon has always opposed taking on more debt, and he has a lot of, you know, kindred spirits. It's reflective of an informed, perhaps mistaken, but an informed view that says we are reluctant to take on any debt, even for a good cause. Let's do this out of general revenues. So if it happens, I think it will be because the members of the House get something they want, like a tax cut, which they were very passionate for last year.
And speaking of which, she is proposing a 1/4 percentage point reduction in the tax rate. You like the sound of that, I know, but is this going to pass?
Yeah, it's no surprise to any of our regular viewers that I do like the sound of that as a fiscal conservative and somebody who would like to see taxpayers be able to keep more of their resources. There are trade-offs, of course. The governor proposes, the legislature disposes. It's an old expression, and it's certainly true in Oklahoma, where comparatively the legislature institutionally has a lot of power. In the end, some government right-sizing may come from the governor's approach because she is recommending agency budget cuts, I believe, as one of the mechanisms to finance a tax cut. The increase in public education spending would partially offset any gains from agency budget cuts. So after governing for 3 years and growing government, Governor Fallin now wants to shrink it slightly. There will be opposition that'll be intense to that.
Yeah, we'll be watching this for sure. I understand you want to give a little bit of a shout out here.
Real briefly, Tip of the hat to Bob Blackburn and the people at the History Center, Oklahoma History Center, and others for organizing the Ralph Centennial, the Ralph Ellison Centennial celebration. That's funny because I've written about Ellison all my life and even taught about him in East Side schools. Ralph Ellison, the great writer, author of Invisible Man, being honored on the 100th anniversary of his birthday, perhaps the greatest writer ever to come out of Oklahoma.
All right, you can read more about these and other topics at CapitolBeatOK.com. For Pat McGuigan, I'm Alex Cameron. Have a good day.